and get this discussion started. Ian, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Ellie. Thanks for having me here, and it's great to be in front of an ACCE Eagle audience again. I think this is my 13th year being a partner at the ACCE, so it's great to be back here again. In a moment, I'm going to bring forth an agenda on what we've got, and I'm going to also introduce Ward Todd, the president of the Ulster Regional Chamber of Commerce of New York, a valued partner of ours for many, many years. But yes, great to be here. Great to see you on the call, Karen, Carol, and Teresa. You lot really could be taking this instead of me. You know a whole host about this this fundraising travel domain, but thanks for joining us today. And we have a lovely, lovely shot here of this past November in Egypt. You might recognize some chamber faces right there. We went out to Egypt last November. We're going to Croatia this November. You'll see more about that in a moment, and you're invited to join us. So without further ado, as we have only an hour to wrap up everything, and there's a whole host of things we can discuss, and we have to meet Ward, our chamber president expert, and he truly is an expert. I'm honored to have him on this webinar with us today. Let's go through a little bit about our agenda, and I underline brief. Brief is very much. We're going to go through a little bit about fundraising, why fundraising via travel works. And you'll find my telephone number throughout this presentation today. We could schedule a little bit more time to find out a little bit more about your individual wants and needs at a later stage. But today, we're going to discuss who Aventura World is. We're going to talk about fundraising. First, it's a little bit different than most other entities in what you might think is a travel domain. We're fundraising. So why does chamber fundraising travel work? We're going to hear from Ward. As I mentioned, I've had the pleasure of working with Ward. I don't know, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong. I want to say about 10 years now, Ward, and it's been a pleasure. And one of the leading, Ward and his chamber is one of the leading chambers in the country in production. We're also going to discuss, and we've got a question and answer. So get your questions ready. We'll do our best to answer them, either myself or Ward. We'll do our best to answer the questions at the end. And we do thank you for attending this virtual event. So before we get into the meat and potatoes, let's talk a little bit about who Aventura World is. So we're a member of Sakara International Travel Group. We fall under that umbrella. And Sakara has thousands of employees worldwide. They have offices on both sides of the United States, as well as Paris, Rome, London, Delhi, and Cairo. Sakara owns hotels, riverboats, transportation companies, and travel-related entities. And Aventura World, now we're talking about Aventura World, has been a valued leader in the fundraising domain. And this year is our 50th anniversary. Where did all those years disappear to? Our product is fundraising. And I want to make this distinction quite clear in this webinar. Our byproduct is travel. And that's a little bit different than other people that you may be discussing this venture with. We're dedicated to bringing forth meaningful fundraising amounts year after year to chambers. Yes, we work with chambers, but we work with other nonprofits and other fundraising organizations. At the end of the day, you report to the board. If you don't make the money on an annual basis, you might not be able to continue doing travel programs. So this is an important part of our focus, is find destinations, find products that's going to sell, fundraising. Now, through the fundraising actions, we're dedicated to revealing the treasures of the world to you. whether it's the capitals of Europe, Australia, Barrier Reef, and all points in between. And yes, 13 years. We've been working with being a sponsor and a partner of ACCE. And through this, we've had the opportunity to work with the top producing chambers like Ward and the Ulster Chamber of Commerce on an annual basis. Lastly, we have years of fundraising knowledge. And you're going to hear throughout this program, not vacations. And I'll make a distinction of the difference in a short while. Now, first things first, fundraising first, travel is secondary. So if you want to emulate and copy the results of Ward and other chambers like him throughout this country, we need to think of this in a different light. We don't think travel first. We always think fundraising first. And as we go through this particular slide, you'll see there are various aspects of why, yes, you need to think of other aspects before you think of the travel itself. Now, don't confuse us as Aventura World with a travel agent. A travel agent, you can go to a travel agent and they're great people. If you've got a family trip and you've got 4 people who wants to go to Italy, go to a travel agent. They'll be able to help you with that. It's a family personal trip, but that's not what we deal in. We deal in large numbers. We want you to get into a 50, 60, 70, 80, 120 Ward's he's chartered an entire boat with us sailing down the Nile in the past. So these are things that we want to help you get to. Now, remember, fundraising first. You'll find many travel companies, not fundraising companies, but many travel companies that will help you with travel or vacations. Again, vacations are not what we deal with. Not every destination is suitable for fundraising, but it's great for a vacation. Alaska cruises, Caribbean cruises, great for vacations, but not ideal in any shape or form for fundraising programs because it's a mass market event. You'll find it in the Sunday paper. You'll find it on the internet, and it's difficult to make money from. Not every month is ideal for fundraising either. I always like to say when it's cool or not nice at home, that's the time to do a fundraising travel program. Because yes, people want to escape, especially if you're, from an area where there's a little bit of cold weather, a bit of snow, a bit of ice. Yes, people want to head out and get a little bit of warmth or perceived warmth. Not all pricing is ideal for fundraising. I received an email from a chamber this week, and they're doing a wonderful Australia and New Zealand trip, $8,500 a person. It's not designed for fundraising. That's designed as a vacation. And there's a big part of it. It's very difficult to sell an $8,500 trip as opposed to a $2,000 to $3,000 price range. Now, Aventura World is a business-to-business company. Our partners are you. Through you, people travel. People want to travel with the chamber. And that's the key to this. We are not a business to consumer company. And then we make this important distinction. You communicate and talk to your travelers. We do not do this. And you can see this on our website. When you get a moment's free time, if you haven't already looked at our website, it's a nice pictorial website, lots of information. And I bring the word information to you. Your travelers cannot book with us directly. They cannot find a trip to Tuscany heading out on March the 1st, book a special with us directly. They must book through the chamber. Hence, you control your affinity. You control your program. You don't allow a company to take over your affinity and your travelers. Very important as we go forward on this. So why does chamber travel, why does fundraising via travel work? Well, there are many aspects. I believe one of the big aspects is you. Yes, we're the back office. We're your expert in the fundraising through travel and the destination side. But most people in and around your area wants to have a connection with you. And as that is a result, the chamber travel domain works really, really well. Historically, chambers need a supplemental revenue to the membership, non-dues. If you offer fundraising via travel, you can open up a brand new pocket to fundraise into. Those people that are walking past the chamber building on a daily basis that don't have the ability to come in. You have a great name, a great reputation. This, what we're discussing here, gives maybe a member of the non-working public, a retiree, the ability to transact with the chamber and for you to make money from it. Maybe a non-member, the said same thing applies. Now, getting with the knowledge that the chamber has, yes, getting together is very much an important part. Now, it's valuable in fundraising when you get together with people and the chamber's partnership, you've got a viable fundraising event happening in that format. Oh, I apologize. Chambers are a trusted source. People want to connect with you and would love to travel with you. Again, this is a new pocket to drop inside and to gain revenue from. So as you have a great name, frankly and forthrightly, and you'll find in all conversations that I have, the reason people are traveling is because of you, a wish to connect with the chamber. Not so much a wish to connect with us, because we're your silent partners. They want to connect with you, interact with you, and hence you can make wonderful non-dues revenue through this. A chamber loves being a leading entity within the community. Yes, we call what we're doing here international awareness programs. So through conversations with me and my team, you can bring forth a destination based on fundraising and call it an international awareness, and people can travel over the world with you and have a wonderful experience and come back and tell their friends and family members about it. Chambers always take care of relationships. Again, you've got a great name in the industry, and as a result, relationships help build fundraising opportunities. We've had chamber partners in the past that through the revenue that they have made, they have supported special projects in and around the area. They've built benefactors on their 401, on their charitable organizations in and around the area. All this is relationship building through travel. Chambers of professionals in the market. And this is why chamber fundraising travel has rebounded a lot faster than every other entity in a travel format. Last year in 2021, we were already back to pre-COVID numbers. In 2022, we've already surpassed 2019 numbers. It is rebounding so quickly. Lastly, again, business-to-business format. It's important that you do work with a business-to-business format company and a fundraising company. I offer the shots below. These are all shots, and I apologize, Ward, I didn't have one of the highly packed room that we had at the Holiday Inn this year to produce Greece, but these are what I call virgin chambers. These are all chambers that have been producing travel for some time. They haven't let business to consumer travel companies inside. We've got a lovely chamber there in Northern California, which I'm hopeful the fire marshal wasn't watching us, because that was a room produced for 35 people. We had close to 60 people for a presentation. We've got one in the middle of in Montana, where they rented a larger building because the demand was so high for their trip to Greece this fall. There was over 65 people. And then we're in Kentucky for the next one. There was 50 people. Most people were congregating around a drink station, a bar station that they provided. Those are virgin chambers that haven't allowed anybody to take away their affinity. All these are important for the continuity of building big numbers over the years. Now, as I mentioned, it's a brief conversation, and right now I would like to introduce Ward. Ward's been a valuable partner of mine for the last 10 years. In 2021, they went to Greece with about 60 people. They've returned again. They're returning again in the fall of this year. They've taken entire boats in Egypt with us. They've been to Ireland this year, and they range between 70 and 120 people a year, with 45,000 projected this year. But I think truly, Ward, that you'll get into the 50 to 55,000 this year. But at that, Ward, I'm going to open up to you, and I'm going to say, please take over for a moment before we get into a Q&A.
All right. Thanks, Ian. Good afternoon, everyone. I just wanted to make a couple of brief comments before we open up to questions. I do want to hear from you and provide the information that will help you plan trips in the future. Just one small correction. I heard the term fundraising over and over again from you, Ian. These for us, these are fundraisers. We make some significant money, but we are having fun doing it. I think as chambers, we all do fundraising every day of the year. This is the one that we consider to be fundraising. And I'll just tell you one quick anecdote. We were on our trip to Egypt a couple of years ago, and a couple of the people were kind of late getting on the bus, and the tour guide looked at them and said, "Listen, I just want you to know, we're on a mission. This is not a vacation." And it is so true. From morning till night, we are seeing the most amazing sights all over the world with some of the best tour guides anywhere. So we really have enjoyed our trips. And I did want to share with you just a little bit about some of the things that are going on here in Ulster County in our chamber. And so I would begin with this shot. I love to take photos of our travelers, and I enjoy particularly, there are other shots of this wall of the pyramid where
you've got to share your screen.
Okay, I thought that I was.
Sorry, Ian, I think you're going to have to stop sharing your screen, and then Ward can share his.
Okay, I'm going to stop sharing I think I've stopped.
Can you see? Is that better?
Ian, it looks like yours is still up.
Oh. The wonders. Stop sharing.
These are the joys of working from home.
All right. How's this?
There we go.
That folks, that is the Great Pyramid. And one of the things I love to do is take pictures of our chamber members. I do have another shot of this couple, a local accountant and his wife, a CPA. And those I love to share on social media. I find it is one of the great values of this trip to show others what we have done and the fun that we've had. That's me in front of that same Great Pyramid. This is our chamber group, half of the group. We split up in two buses when we went to Egypt. We had a chance to ride camels. That was a joy. I found out really how strong I was on that same trip. Who knew? A 5,000-pound boulder. And this, again, one of the things I do on social media before we leave on a trip, I friend everyone that I know is on social media, and then I put up posts from wherever we are in the world, and I tag each one of them so that then not only do folks who follow me and our chamber see what's going on, but all of these folks and their friends. So that's a little bit about Egypt. As Ian mentioned, we just came back from Greece this past fall. Our tour guide is showing some of the most beautiful sights, and that is the view that we had that day. Just spectacular. those of you who have been or have read, of course, the Acropolis and the Parthenon, all part of the trip, and some of the most beautiful architecture. And this is where in Greece we have been staying in Kinseta with, I guess we have to have this view from our rooms at night. It was spectacular. And, oh, wait a minute, how did that slide get in there? Well, anyway, that's one of the joys of having a trip where we can get together and socialize after our day out, where we can enjoy our company. One of the great things about Greece, if that's something you're looking for, this beautiful resort in Kinseta we stay in has an all-inclusive package, including open bar and all the food included, all for one price in the $3,000 per person range. So that is a joy. And that's in Kinseta, I'm sorry. And so, Ian, you have questions, or those folks who are on the Zoom?
I mean, you're here. So, I mean, I guess I would ask you, Ward, what's your favorite destination that you've been to in the world, and why was that?
So what I have found is that when I get back from a beautiful destination and someone asks me that question, I'll say, well, it was Greece, or 2 years before that, it was Egypt, or a year before that, it was Cuba. So really, Ian, what I think my most favorite trip is the next one that I'm going on. It's so hard to, in retrospect, look back at the 10 or 12 places we've been in the last dozen years or more to choose one. But I will tell you, there's something very, very special and very, very magical about Egypt and also Greece.
Okay. I mean, obviously things are, the world is a fabulous place, but what's the most moving experience or adventure you've had on one of these programs?
So I guess, I mean, from that perspective, it probably would be Egypt. It would be walking down under a pyramid. It would be seeing some of the most spectacular archaeological sites anywhere in the world, and hearing the history and having the understanding about the Egyptian way of life. Those are the memories that I have from these trips that I will have forever.
I mean, I have to ask this. I mean, and I know there's many people, many aircrafts, many companies out there, but what do you enjoy about working with Aventura?
Well, I think it's the ease, Ian. Everything that we ask of Aventura, you are more than eager to help us. We have found that the destinations you've helped us choose have been excellent. The tour guides have been outstanding. Bus drivers, transportation, hotel rooms, everything has been first class. We've stayed in some of the most beautiful hotels and resorts in the world, places that we would not have known about were it not for Aventura. And the cost is very affordable. In our particular market, Ian, most trips we try to schedule are in the $2,800 to $3,200 price range per person. And that includes airfare and all fees and taxes, as well as our administrative fee. And that's very affordable for most of our members and the general public here in our region.
Thank you, Ward. I noticed that 20% of the attendees today do not have a travel program. So as an avid traveler and as somebody that once, twice a year travels with the Chamber, how was travel during the COVID era in 2021? And I have to say, was it? Because hopefully we're out of the COVID era, but how was it? And what was the enjoyment level of your travelers?
Yeah, it's like nothing we had ever seen before. We went, as I said, last fall, and then again in March. Everyone was just so happy to be out, to be enjoying the world. I think all of us have made a bucket list, if not during the last couple of years, sometime before that, right? So these are all things that people have told us they want to do. They want to see the world. They want to explore. They want new adventures. And you could not pry the smiles off of our travelers' faces everywhere we went in Greece and in Ireland within the last 6 months. So that's the difference. People have always enjoyed our trips, but now there is this real feeling that, I've waited and waited for 3 years for the chance to get out, and now I'm finally doing it. And everyone is having just a spectacular time.
Thank you for that. What about fundraising via travel attracted you to the chamber?
So it was by accident, right? We tried 11, 12 years ago to take a trip just because it had been presented to us. It was fairly successful. You know, I think a couple of things are good to have for the chambers who are listening or viewing this now. Have someone on the staff who likes to travel. Very, very important. We have a wonderful staff member, Carol Ricken, on our chamber staff. I think she lives to travel, right? So she really enjoys getting out and having that interpersonal relationship with all of our travelers. That is very, very important. And we've just seen, so we've got a database, right, of those people who traveled 12 years ago, 11 years ago, 10 years ago. And now we've got close to 600 people that receive our emails. As soon as we get a trip, we'll target them. We'll send the first email. So we're going to Tuscany. We're doing Greece this coming fall. And then we're just rolling out Tuscany for next spring. So those folks who have traveled in the past with us, they're going to be getting the first shot at that, and they'll learn that they can go to Tuscany next March for a very affordable price. So it's been a matter of just as the years have gone by, we found more and more people are interested in it. We've made new friends. There've been lifetime friendships that have occurred because people have met on these trips. We just have enjoyed it so much. It's turned into one of our probably most popular program we do.
Excellent. And you're a seasoned hand at this now. I mean, do you budget X amount of money each year that you want to make on this?
Yeah, we do. Our membership has been strong even through COVID, but you know, I think everyone watching this now knows it continues to be a challenge to keep members engaged. So we do the traditional dinners and expos and those things, but the last several years we've begun to put in money and increasing amounts for a travel income, and it does allow us to do some of those things that we couldn't have done before. We've been able to add another staff person. We've been able to make sure that our facility is kept up. It's been a lifesaver in many respects, particularly during this very, very difficult time the last couple of years.
I mean, there's 20% only in a travel program right now. So what would you rate the return on investment being based on such an event as this?
Right. So everything does take some time to coordinate, whether it's some of those events I just mentioned a moment ago or this. So there is staff time involved, but I do believe the return is not only the financial part, but this feeling of community, this feeling of being part of the organization, this brotherhood that's formed that we don't see, again, in any of our other programs. People, when they go on one of these travel trips with us, they stay close to us. They are now part of our family. So I think the return on investment is very, very good for the amount of time, staff time and effort that we put into each of our trips.
This might be a loaded question, but what do you believe your success is on this program?
Well, a couple of things. As I mentioned, we've got a great staff person who loves to travel.
I know she's done it, so that's why I said it's a loaded question.
Yeah. I think again we've got a great we've had great success in all of our promotion. We do email blasts, we do mentions on our website. We have a monthly chamber newsletter which people read, and we put ads every month in that. So people in the community know what we're doing. They're aware of what we're doing, and so they're paying attention to what we're doing. I think a lot of what I think having that staff person, as I mentioned, is so critically important. I also feel as if the social media component is very strong, especially the last few years. More and more people went to social media for their connections, and to see folks, friends and neighbors, folks that they know out traveling, seeing the world, enjoying themselves, that really does catch fire.
Yeah, I mean, my last question, but you've answered it with that the conversation you just had. How do you market it? I know I've been on your radio show when I happened to be in New York last, and so just a quick recap again of how you. Not everybody's going to have a long list of past travelers.
Yeah, and so that's something that will grow. A couple of times we have sent out surveys to get an idea of where our members and our past travelers would like to go. So just keeping people in the loop, letting them know what's going on. Again, having someone like Carol, she can answer the phone. Someone will call and say, listen, I want to go somewhere next March. Let me know what you're thinking about. And very often we'll get a call from someone who will have a great idea, a place maybe we hadn't thought of before. And we'll call you and very possibly we can put that trip together. So again, social media is cheap. It's free. We don't even buy the sponsored ads. We do radio, we do newspaper, we do website, and we do word of mouth. And at every one of our events, we'll talk about the particular program we're going on, our next destination. We've got flyers on the tables at our breakfast meetings. We have flyers circulating at our networking mixers. We do spread the word far and wide.
Excellent. That's my questions for you. And now in a moment, we're going to open up to Q&A. I've just got one other thing really to discuss before we open up to Q&A. And that's the fam trips that we offer on an annual basis. I looked through my hard drive and I think there was one that I couldn't find, which was to the Amalfi Coast, but we've got the last 3, 6, 9 years there, but there's another 2 that I couldn't find. One was the Amalfi Coast this year. And I think what you see here in the Tuscany program with ACCE back in, I think that was back in the end of it was the end of 18, if I'm not mistaken. The faces, the smiles, the enjoyment is what you're going to get if you bring this type of event together. It's a fun destination. We'd like to invite you to come along with us if you're interested in doing such a fundraising event via travel in November this fall, November the 26th. Through to December the 3rd, we're going to Croatia. There is a nominal charge. These are highly subsidized events by local governments, or in actual fact, national governments too. And it's just under $1,000 for a chamber executive and just over $1,000 for a travel companion along on that. So we certainly hope you'll come along with us. You can email me directly at Ian@Aventura World if you want information. Again, more smiling faces. Here we are on a 2015 fam trip where we met the Prime Minister of Egypt, a trip over to the Amalfi Coast, and then Tuscany again. Here's our contact address and my direct number. I truly believe it's time to get back and make some serious money. Give us a call and make some serious money in fundraising through travel. And I think we've given you an opportunity of about 20 minutes to answer questions and to ask questions. So Ellie, do you have any questions over there?
Yes, sure do. We had a couple come through in the chat. Oh, it looks like Jamie is raising her hand. I know you had a question in the chat, but feel free to chime in.
Well, and that's my same question that I have. I love these programs. I've heard about them before. I've worked in the chamber business for a number of years in different states, but my question is, and this is a big concern of my board of directors, how do I sell this to the board of directors? How does this benefit our businesses in our region by offering them a trip out of our region? How does this tie in with the chamber's mission to support businesses?
I mean, Ward, would you like to chime in? I can give you a conversation of a nationwide conversation. Do you have a personal conversation there?
I will just suggest to you that I sold it to our board as a way to keep the lights on and the doors open. We preach shop local, buy local all the time. During the pandemic, more so than at any other time in our history, we talked about the value of building our community. And we actually changed our slogan from supporting businesses to supporting the community. And our trips have been bringing this community of ours together. So we're a relatively small town. This city is 23,000 people. it seems as if, and I'm not from the city, but it seems as if everybody is either related to somebody else or they know everybody. And word just spreads about what a great trip it was. It raises the level of exposure and the level of credibility, I think, of your Chamber of Commerce as your members, as you see in these pictures right here, are smiling from the destination that they've been taken on. So that's what we used. I told our chamber board, listen, it's going to require some staff time. The ROI is going to be well worth it, and we're going to be able to fundraise, I think, relatively easily and enjoy it at the same time, provide a bonus to our members.
I'm glad I asked you first, Ward, because again, it was the general conversation across the country is keeping the doors open and paying for projects that and gaining a new revenue stream. You know, you usually gain your revenue from members. This is a non-member, if done right, this is a non-member revenue stream. Different pocket.
Thank you. That's very helpful.
Perfect. Thank you, Jamie. Ian, I have another one for you. How far out do you plan a fundraising trip?
It just depends. That would be an opening conversation of when you need the money. So again, this is different. What we bring forth is not a usual conversation. We would have a discovery call. When do you need the money? Approximately how much do you want to make? All valid qualifying questions. And based on that, we would find an area that you would plan a program within. Having said that, just for if you haven't traveled before, and as I mentioned, I acknowledge 3 people. I know you've got travel programs out there. You have a closer in window for somebody who already has a program, and Ward has a closer window to from deciding where to go to departing. Historically, we would recommend a minimum of a 9-month window from, yes, I'm going here and this is the program I'm going to do, to departing. That's a good figure that I would offer as a window that you would plan within.
And I will tell you that we plan a year, and that gives us the 3 months to bring us to the 9 months Ian talked about. So when we get to that 9 months out, we can roll out the program, because there will be some, you may want to just, you know, in some way enhance or in some way improve the information that's available to your travelers. But I would say if you're looking for next fall, it's a good time right now to start planning for next fall and then roll that out early next year.
Yeah, without a doubt. And again, we have partners that tell us we want to leave in 3 months. It gives me stomach ache. We do it. But we would prefer that you don't know, if you haven't started a program yet, you don't know what you don't know. And that's what we're there for, to bring forth the knowledge on. And the longer you have to as a lead time, the better. I would say though, if you're contemplating this, treat it like any other chamber event. Get the message out, market it. I could give you a program that's worth $10,000 for $1. If you don't get the message out, nobody's going to go. So treat it like any other program that you have in Chamberland, and it will be a success. Next question, please, if that answered that question.
I think so. So I've got another one for you. Did you find the safety requirements prohibitive, or did you experience any significant difficulty? And I assume that is in regard to the last 2 years and the obstacles you've had to face there.
I mean, frank and forthright conversations are always part of my patter. You know, we had better years in 2020. We had a little bit of business in 2020 and the industry shut down. 2021, the spring of 2021, we had adamant, defiant people that they had to go no matter what. No matter even if we said, are you really sure? Yes, they had to go. And we, you know, it brought on a whole new dynamic in the spring of 2021, rules and regulations, that testing, vaccinations, tests to come back, had to be brought into play. But it was all part of communication. As long as you communicated with travelers and we communicated with you on the rules and regulations, there was no real issues. We are now getting into looser rules and regulations. Europe's starting to do away with COVID tests before they go, and such things as that. Testing back to, those types of things are starting to roll back, but it's all about communication. And I'm hopeful that Ward will verify this. Yes, there were some trying times in 2021, but by having a policy to protect the chamber, and a policy to protect the best way possible the traveler, we had wonderful repeat clientele satisfaction ratings, even in 2021.
Right. And so on the airline and in the airports, folks wore masks, and going from venue to venue, depending upon that particular place, you may have to wear a mask. Folks were tested before they left and before they came back. It didn't ever come into the conversation, I guess is my best way of saying it. No one seemed to mind the minor little inconveniences, even if they were that. The greater good was the travel and seeing the world.
Yeah.
Yes, I assume a test did not stop people after they've been in their houses for 2 years. I'm sure there's a lot of excitement out there.
I always say people have watched everything on Netflix to watch now. I know I have. There's nothing new on there. And all the garden's pristine. I'm taking flowers out because there's no weeds any longer. So travel, yes, people are getting back to normal.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, I think I've got one more for you, and this may be a little bit for Ward as well. Can you explain the legwork on the chamber staff's part for planning the trip?
So registration is handled by our good friends at Aventura. Our job is to promote the event. So we will hold an informational meeting and we'll promote that. It helps having the database of nearly 600 travelers, but we send that out to the general community as well. And once that gets out there, our staff member will get calls, and she doesn't mind if people call her cell phone or text her. She'll respond. Everyone seems to have some question about just about every trip we take. So there is some staff time required. It is wonderful to have someone like Carol who loves to travel, loves to talk about travel. I don't know that I can quantify the number of hours, but it's not a lot of hours. Then the registration, all of that work is done by Ian's office, and they handle all of the down payment, the deposit, and the payment in full.
I'd like to, I'm just going through some of these questions. One thing too, I notice here, and thank you, Teresa, for answering a question on my behalf. There's another aspect of why a chamber should offer such an event. There are many small to medium-sized businesses in your membership right now that might not be big enough to do an incentive program for their staff. You could bring a one-stop scenario. John's Auto Mechanics or something down the street wants to reward the office manager's been there for 20 years. Another entity wants to reward their salesperson for doing an outstanding job. You have the ability to offer your trip that you're sponsoring with us to that entity as an incentive. So do keep that in mind as an avenue.
Hey, Ian, this is Karen Arnold. A quick question for you. To what level are we able to work with you, which will not surprise you because I've done this before with you, to maybe customize if we want certain meetings, et cetera, in addition to the sightseeing? Is that something that we can work within?
That's a great question, and yes, I would say yes to you because I know your history and we've worked together, and I know you produce people on these programs. If you're starting out on this program and you haven't traveled before, I would say, we have programs which are tried and tested in the marketplace that's going to sell day in, day out, whether you're in Florida, whether you're in Kansas, California, Nebraska, New York. And you should look at those programs. But you, Karen, as we know, we've been to, We usually revolve around Tampa Airport, where the new flights are coming into with you. And Cuba, I wouldn't recommend. You did a wonderful job in Cuba. That's not everybody's destination. But yes, for you, Karen, we can do that. If you're starting out, then we have specific ones.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Importantly, there's a question, and I apologize. I'm doing you out of a job, Ellie. There's a question that's come up, and it says, how were tests acquired in the country, the destination country? If a test is required, and if it continues to be such a way as a US requirement, we will plan for those tests for the return. So our officers overseas or our partners overseas will plan for those tests. And I think, Warder, you can attest to this. In Kineta in Greece, we had somebody come to the hotel and nobody was inconvenienced. The test was done there and then from the hotel, and probably from the bar, they had their test, and after the test went back to the bar.
And just a rapid test.
Just a rapid test, yes. And do you want to, I don't want to put you out of business, Ellie. There's another question. I see
No,
it.
that's okay. Go ahead and take it.
No, please. I don't want to take your job away.
All right. Are international trips more popular than domestic?
Great question. There are many, we don't deal in rocket science, but there are steps that you must perform, which I'm not going to go through in this meeting because it takes a little bit more time, that will guarantee your success of, guarantee your ability of success. One of them is a destination that's not relatively easy to do yourself. And I mean yourself, one of your travelers. A domestic program is easily done themselves. We do not recommend, even though you will find domestic programs on our website. Those are usually for our non-fundraising partners. We don't recommend a domestic program because most of you, the prospective traveler, have done them. They'll do them by car. It's easy to pick up the phone and get a hotel, a rental car, jump on Southwest and do it themselves, so they don't need you. The destinations that we would recommend are a little bit in famous countries, but a little bit off the beaten track in famous countries, or the most exotic that a traveler would say, there's no way that I'm going to do that by myself. And that's the key to fundraising travel, not vacations.
Perfect. I think we have one more and then we'll go ahead and wrap up. Logistically, how do chambers get paid from these trips?
Yeah, so we're a wholesaler of travel. So we try and make it as simple and as easy as possible. We will bring a wholesale price to you on this trip, and everything's written down. I hate surprises in life. So everything is written down. And so you can see everything up front. And we will have, this is the price, and included in this price, there is X amount of money included as your referral fee, as your profit base. We work with chambers. Some make 200, some make 300, some make more than that. And the longer you're in the domain, the longer you're in fundraising via travel, the more affinity you will build, and the more that your travelers are willing to travel with you, and hence the more money you can make. And that's a key part about trying to do your best to stay away from business to consumer travel companies, because they're looking to take your travelers away from you. So the longer you keep this going, and the longer your affinity is built, the more money you'll make. At the end of the program, and I didn't answer your question, and I'm talking a long way around it, but you're paid on the production of travelers. So, hypothetically, for a simple math, because I was not a math major at school, if you get 30 people and you make $100 a head, that's $3,000. Nobody makes $100 a head, but for simple math, you make $3,000 and you get paid on those. It'll be assessed just before you go, and it's paid out just after you return home. In addition, there's always complementary spaces on our programs. And as you grow and the affinity builds, not only do you get to go, but this is a staff retention tool for staff members to go on the trip with you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ian.
You're
I
welcome.
think that will conclude today's session. Thank you very much, Ward and Ian, for sharing your insights with us today. And thank you all for spending your afternoon with us, for your
Elliot.
questions and for your engagement. Again, a recording will be sent to you all in the next day or so. So please feel free to share with your colleagues in business community. I will also be sure to include Ian's contact information in there as well. This ends the webinar. Thank you all for your time and attention. We look forward to seeing you on another Partner Solution session soon.
Thank you all. Thanks, Ward. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Have a good day, everyone.